is the Public Service Award, which Jim Malloy is going to present.
Thank you. So the recipient of this year's Public Service Award is Governor Steve Bullock, and he's engaged in some other matters this evening in a little state I think is called Iowa. But I just want to say a few words about him. I'll go back a little bit in history, but I'll try to make this brief. In 2000, Steve undertook the idiotic step of running for Attorney General against Mike McGrath. And it didn't go well for him. And I had totally forgotten I had done this, but I sent him a note saying, we need people like you to stay in the game. And although I supported your opponent, I sure hope this isn't the last time we're going to see you. I had totally forgotten about that note. And I think it was about 2004. I get a call from this guy named Steve Bullock, who was at that time practicing in Washington, D.C. And he said, I'm thinking about coming back to Montana. I just wanted to pick your brain about what the opportunities might be. Long story short, he ended up coming into my office. I said, you know, I've got an extra office. If you want to come in here and start building your practice, you can live rent-free until you start making money, and then you can pay for it, which is what he did. And then one of the very first things he did was undertake to raise Montana's minimum wage successfully. And every year, the minimum wage in Montana will adjust upwards based on inflation. Now, it's still not what we would like it to be, but he got that done. He got in the car. Kim Abbott was helping him. Doug Mitchell helped put it all together. And Steve got people in Montana a minimum wage that will increase. He then became Attorney General. Once again, I offered him sage advice and said, you know, you have no chance. You got Wheat running and Parker running. Everyone knows who they are. Why don't you run for auditor? And he looked at me and he said, I have no interest in being auditor. Well, as we all know, he was then Attorney General. So I had the good fortune. Our youngest daughter had graduated from college. He asked me to come join him in the AG's office, so I did that and spent time with him there and got to watch him up close and up personal. This guy cares about people. And if you just look at what has happened in the 8 years he's been governor, we can talk about the defense that he's played for us, vetoing more bills than all previous governors in Montana combined. And but that's defense. He got the most progressive campaign finance law in the nation passed, and with a Republican-controlled legislature. And a Republican-controlled legislature that he routinely vetoed their bills. He got Medicaid expansion passed. And then this last session was able to work with help from others, but 90 to 100,000 Montanans have health care because of the leadership he showed and his willingness and ability to work across the aisle. The things he stood up for that our organization represents, he was always there. When it was a sensitive issue that he needed some little flexibility with, he would reach out to Al and say, can we find a path forward here that doesn't make me just veto this, but is something you guys can live with? And he would work with Al and get that done. So I sound like I'm giving his acceptance speech. Raph is going to come and give his acceptance speech on his behalf. I don't want to get too political, but everything he stood for and all the defense he played is in jeopardy. We will see an entirely different state by March of 2021 if we don't hold the governor's office in 2021. It's a big, big path or challenge, but we need to. And I'll avoid the politics beyond that. But I do want to thank Steve Bullock for everything he's done. I wish him the best in his presidential race. I wish he were running against Steve Daines, but that's his choice. But Raph is now going to accept the award on his behalf. And again, I think we all owe Steve an incredible debt of gratitude.
I am not Steve Bullock. My name is Raph Graybill, and I work for Steve Bullock as his chief legal counsel. And actually, my first event working for him, my first day on the job, was this event 2 years ago. So this is a thing that means a lot to Steve Bullock. And he asked me to come here today and read a short letter reflecting on some of the values that he shares with this great group. So the first person is Steve Bullock, not me. Thank you for being here tonight. I want to thank all the trial lawyers, advocates, and distinguished speakers who participated in this year's conference to ensure that we continue to be a force for good. I am incredibly humbled to receive the MTLA Al Smith Public Service Award. It is an honor to have worked with MTLA members and Al Smith over these years as we share the same core values and mission. Each of your paths here was different, but you got here in part by working harder and smarter than the next guy or gal, by taking risks, and by holding true to the same core values that we share. Montanans are facing serious challenges right now. You and your clients see it almost every day. That's why I've fought back as governor. As a lawyer and as a public servant, I have taken the values we share to fight for those people that need us the most and against the influences that corrupt our legal, economic, and political systems. As governor, I vetoed bills that erode statutes of limitations because we know that tort law works. I vetoed efforts to reduce work comp benefits, bills that make recovery from insurers harder, bills to shield banks, or the makers of dangerous products. Most importantly, though, I've appointed more judges to the bench than any governor in recent memory, 60%, including 2 justices of our Supreme Court. I've appointed judges and justices who've represented real clients, not just institutions. Judges who have faced uncertainty and poor odds in their practices. Judges who have felt the moral weight of telling an injured person, someone with nowhere else to go, I will fight for you. The moment when you say to a prospective client, yes, I'll fight for you, it's those values that teach us a lot about how politics ought to be and where we currently fall short. It is up to each of us to use the skills, abilities, and values we hold, not only to fight against the influences that corrupt our system, but to make progress. We make that progress by giving our time, our resources, our energy, and our talents. And just as you give voice to the voiceless in our courtrooms, we all need to do the same in our political system. Thank you again for the honor of this award, and thank you for the work you do each and every day for the people of Montana. Sincerely, Governor Steve Bullock. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll just add one little bit on Steve. You should all know that comes from the heart. I mean, he is a lawyer's lawyer, and if you look at the work his office does, you see his name on pleadings. He still does that kind of work because he understands what it means to run a one-person law shop, starting with Jim. So he's your governor, but he's also your lawyer. So thank you much, and on his behalf, thank you.